The former President Uhuru Kenyatta has joined the national and regional leaders in Kirinyaga County for the burial of the former Senator Daniel Karaba as the country reflects on the legacy in education and public service. The burial ceremony took place on Wednesday, April 1st at the late Senator's rural home in Kirinyaga County. It brought together political leaders, family members, and residents, all gathered to pay their final respects to a man widely known for his commitment to service. Among those present were key figures in Kenya's political landscape. They included the former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. Also in attendance was Martha Karua. Kalonzo Musyoka was present as well. So was Fred Matiang'i, and James Orengo joined other senators and members of parliament. The gathering reflected the wide respect the late Daniel Karaba commanded across political divides. His passing on March 23rd following the short illness marked the end of the long career that spanned education and politics. For many in Kirinyaga County, the loss is deeply personal. Karaba was not just a leader, he was a teacher, a mentor, and a figure closely connected to the community. His journey into public life began in 2002. The year marked a turning point to Kenya's political history. It was a period defined by the transition from one-party dominance to a more competitive multi-party system. And Daniel Karaba entered the race in the Kirinyaga Central Parliamentary seat. He ran on the ticket of the National Rainbow Coalition. The election itself was historic. It saw the end of the long rule by KANU. Karaba won that contest, and with it he secured his place in the National Assembly. He served as a member of parliament from 2003 to 2007, and during his time in parliament he focused largely on education. This focus was rooted in his professional background. Before entering politics, Karaba had built a distinguished career in his education sector. He served as a teacher and later as the principal of the Kirinyaga High School. Under his leadership, the school grew into a respected center of academic excellence. His influence extended beyond the classroom. Karaba also served as the chairman of the Secondary Schools Heads Association, and he held the position for more than a decade, from 1984 to 1998. In that role, he contributed to shaping education policy and leadership at the national level. This background earned him the title Mwalimu, and it was the name that stayed with him even after he entered politics. And it reflected the respect he commanded within the community. And in Parliament, Karaba continued to focus on education matters. He chaired the Education Committee in the 9th Parliament, and through that role he worked on policies affecting schools, teachers and students across the country. However, his parliamentary career faced a setback in 2007. He lost his seat in a competitive election, and his public service did not end there. Following the promulgation of the 2010 Constitution, Kenya introduced a new system of governance. This included the creation of the Senate, a body designed to represent counties and also protect their interests. In 2013, Daniel Karaba returned to the political stage. He ran for the position of senator for Kirinyaga County, and this time he contested under the National Alliance. The party was part of the Jubilee Alliance coalition, and he won the seat. He became the first senator of Kirinyaga County under the new constitutional framework. In the Senate, Karaba represented the interests of his county. He worked within the structures of devolution, and he contributed to discussions on resource allocation and governance. For residents of Kirinyaga, his leadership during this period was significant. He was part of the early generation of leaders tasked with shaping how devolution would function. So at his burial, many of these contributions were remembered, and leaders present acknowledged his role in both education and politics. They recognized his journey from the classroom to the national leadership, and they also reflected on the impact he had on individuals and institutions. The presence of leaders from different political backgrounds underscored a shared respect. It showed that beyond politics and political competition, there were moments of unity. Moments where the focus shifts to legacy and service. And for the family of Daniel Karaba, the day marked a final farewell. A moment of honor, a life lived in service, and for the community it was a time for reflection, a time to remember a leader who had been part of their daily lives, and for the nation it was an opportunity to recognize the contribution of leaders who may not always dominate headlines but also whose work shapes society in lasting days. Karaba's story is one of the steady service, from education to politics, from local leadership to national representation. His journey reflects a path taken by many leaders who begin to communicate, or that who begin in community service and rise to national prominence. It also highlights the importance of education as a foundation for leadership, and as the country continues to evolve, such stories remain important. They provide the context, they offer perspective, and they remind the public of the values that underpin leadership service. In Kirinyaga, those values were evident through the ceremony, in the speeches and in the tributes, and in the presence of those who came to pay their respects. The burial was not just a political gathering, it was a community moment, a shared experience of the loss and remembrance, and the ceremony concluded. The focus shifted also from the mourning to legacy. That remains is the work he did, the institutions he influenced, and the lives he touched. And in the quiet hills of Kirinyaga, a teacher, a leader, and a servant of the people is laid to rest, his legacy carried forward in the lives he helped shape. That is all for today from Kenya Lens Media, where we bring you news updates as they break. Kindly subscribe, like, and share as a way of motivating us and also helping us motivate, or rather grow this